Going out does not make you an interesting person.
Have you decided? They all wanna call like which one the baddest? I feel like a farm around stacking my cabbage. I ain't worried about now, I don't get my broccoli. If I was bird, they wouldn't ride for me. Now all of a sudden they ride for me. Hey.
That's what we're gonna title this video. Going out does not make you an interesting person. But I also really want to say your experiences don't make you an interesting person. It's your perspective that makes you an interesting person. What idea of life that is unique to you did you gain out of said experience? Let me like this instance, right? I think that was a good way to get it started. I like to do this for a little bit more, just mental clarity. Mental clarity. Some fire. It's something about fire, smoke, things burning, good smells. Let's get back to the topic. So right now we got this whole perception, and this is what this bases off of, is right now we got this whole perception that, you know, not everybody, but a good amount of society, that we need to be out doing things, having fun, going out and experiencing as much as possible, because that's what makes us interesting and that's what makes life interesting, right? But I really want to, and this is what I was going to title the video before, is don't overpack on your journey, which means don't be piling in all of these things that you think you need to do in order to actually live what you would deem as a good life for yourself. You know, as we look on social media, we see people doing all these things. We feel like we need to be doing a lot of these things ourselves. And, you know, we got this bag on along our journey of all the things that we want to do or experiences that we want to have, the things that we care about. And we overpack it due to watching social media and watching everybody say, oh, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, you need to be doing this. And the truth is, it can take away from what you really truly care about. Like, you got to get back to what do you actually care about. And that can change, but you really got to always dive in and see what it is that you care about. And look at your life. Look at what you wake up and what you want to do. And it can be something as simple as not really doing anything, but within that, though, I would encourage you to find something that you enjoy to create. It never has to be anything super glamorous or fantastic. And this ties into the whole point of it, is that is your perspective. It's how you think about things, how you think about life. What perspectives did you gain that make you an interesting person? It's your thoughts, it's your thinking. It's your mind that makes you an interesting person. You can be somebody that sit around and just read books all day. If you able to, out of all of the things that you read and what you gain, if you're able to gain a certain perspective of life that's unique to you, you're a far more interesting person than somebody that goes out to, you know, clubs and does all of these things, but they actually don't have their own way of thinking, really. Like, they just think the same, you know, how mainstream thinks. So the more interesting person or the more interesting life is always going to be based on the perspective that you gather from the things that you choose to experience. Keyword, that you choose to experience. So as you along your journey, don't overpack. Unpack your bag of the things that you just really don't care about. Don't try to force your things to care about them because you think, based on society, say, you think you need to be caring about these things as well. Focus on doing the things that you just actually care about. When you actually just focus on experiences that you care about, is when you actually gain the most perspective. Your soul, you care about it for a reason. Your person, who you are, cares about that thing for a reason, because it sees value in it. And whatever you see value in, you're able to actually extract the most knowledge out of and the most value out of. And I wrote down something interesting here, because I always write down before I come on here and speak. You know, that's how I just do it. I get downloads and I got to write them down, and then I, you know, based on that, to be like, you know what, that should actually be a good thing to speak about. Whenever I'm referencing anything that I'm reading, it's all from me, basically. So it's really death over with in life, and that's how it goes in YouTube as well. If you want to build a YouTube channel, it's death over with. It's not how many different things you can do, it's how deep you can go on this one thing, right? Well, that's the same way when it comes to life. It's not about all these different things that you can experience. It's about going deep on a certain experience and gaining a perspective out of that, because that's what you're doing it for, honestly. So I wanted to reference Kobe, you know, the basketball player Kobe. A lot of people loved him not only because of what he did on the court and what he was able to accomplish, but more so his mindset and how he was able to do it. Keyword, his mindset, his perspective on things. His understanding of life through the depth of basketball made him interesting, right? So when you look at an interview with Kobe and he talk about how he got so good at basketball, you know, basketball was his only thing. So anything else that revolved around his life was tailored to him gaining more knowledge in basketball. Anything that happened in his life, he would put it towards his knowledge of basketball so he can just gain more depth and understanding. But within that helped him gain a more perspective and understanding of life that's unique to him in relation to just diving deeper into the experience of basketball. And that's what made him so interesting. So it's really about you choosing the experiences that care about the most to you and then diving in them with so much depth that you gain a perspective of life that's unique to you. So it's not about going out and having all of these different experiences. You know, say a person, you know, somebody that climbed Mount Everest before. I mean, that's an interesting thing to do. I would say some experiences are more interesting than others. That is true. But we talking about what makes you an interesting person, which is the mind inside, the way you feel inside. Because when you're interacting with a person, they interacting with you. Y'all can be doing the experience together, but if you're not an interesting person to interact with along with this experience, then experiences is carrying everything. And then without that experience is like what makes it interesting, what makes you interested. So somebody can climb Mount Everest and do a lot of other interesting things in their life, but when you speak to them, if they didn't gain any form of awareness or perspective that's unique to how they view life out of it, is like, what did you do it for then? But what they've done is interesting. That's what makes them a little more interesting, is because what they done is so interesting. But that goes away once you actually start to speak to the person and you're able to actually just connect on a one-on-one human basis rather than just glorifying the experience so much. Because that's what things always come down to, is because we interact with each other. That's what all of this is. That's what social media is. We are here to interact with each other. I'd rather interact with a person that has an interesting perspective of life based on whatever that person, he or she, chose to experience. Rather that's not doing much but considered by other people. Or rather that's out here doing a lot. It's really not about all that you're doing. It's about the perspective of life that you able to gain from whatever it is that you going through or that you choosing to experience or go after or do. I feel like I'm somebody that got a lot of perspective and experience, not experience, but a lot of perspective, my own unique perspective, my own way of thinking. And I go in depth with that. I'm not somebody out here that undid the most. Choose what actually matters and you care, you know, what matters to you and what you care about, and just have that experience or more of those type of experiences. But make sure you actually following through on everything that you are interested in, all of your ideas, because that is a part of your evolution. The things that you're interested in doing, your ideas, those certain thoughts that you want to experience, you need to make sure you actually experiencing those, and that you're doing it from a place of peace and you're not doing it out of a place of fear or worry. Like if the things seem a little big or whatever it is that you want to do, just make sure you're not doing it out of fear or worry. Make sure you're doing it out of a place of peace.